Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Well, yesterday's storms on Sunday were pretty nasty. I was kind of watching them throughout the day on radar and on satellite, and these storms had a history here, as you kind of see here on visible satellite imagery before the sunset right there, that they were producing quite a bit of very heavy rainfall and some hail. Now, this was a part of a multi-day severe weather outbreak that actually started back in the plains a few days before this. In fact, if we just even look at Sunday's severe reports, we can see all the blue dots representing where there were strong straight-line winds, and then this shading of color here, which is where we saw the hail. So it was a pretty nasty go of it yesterday on Sunday. But back in the plains, just notice where the severe weather reports are. This has been the area that we've talked so much about, the extensive drought coming into the panhandles. I mean, hitting this part of the Cotton Belt hard. And if you look back at the last 3 days of total accumulated precipitation, while it was sparing here, I guess what I mean by that is when the storms came through, they put down heavy rain, but the coverage wasn't wide. There was rain. And if you look north of that, look at this region in through here. While it caused more flooding on the Red River Valley of the North, we did get heavy rain coming into the drought-stricken areas of South Dakota and Nebraska, and more is on the way. Now, just look over to our region, and we do see that those storms locally put down some very heavy rainfall. But I'm just kind of giving you this broader picture of things first, because you go back a week ago, this is what our soil moisture values at 16 inches look like. This is what they look like this morning. So a week ago and now. So we do see some pockets of drier conditions here, right? But we've beat back the drought in some key corn and soybean producing areas in the midsection of the country. The spring wheat up into this area has been very late going in, and we're flooding this whole region throughout this particular part of the country. So I just want to give you that kind of national perspective. Speaking of national perspective, take a look at this map. This would be the April 2022 temperature ranks. Now, this is something I really struggled with. I did not think the extent of the colder air was going to get that far south and be retained this far to the east at times. We did see the signals for colder weather here, but that several times we brought in those pretty cold conditions. In the Pacific Northwest, the extremely cold weather, which this will likely go down as the coldest April on record in parts of the Northwest, did cause major problems with the tree fruit industry and also vineyards, where we had frost events that happened after bud break. But on the precipitation side of it, let's blow that one up too. And notice the northern plains, extremely wet. There are major delays here. Wet in the Pacific Northwest. Most of April was very dry west of this line, although lately the heavy rains have come back in. Where do we stand? Close to average, to be honest with you. Some of our climate reporting districts are just a hair on the drier side of average. But other than that, of any place across the country that has had what I would call maybe a decent shot at spring so far, it has been parts of the mid-Atlantic getting it onto the Carolinas. We've been very wet at times with a lot of severe weather in the mid-south along the Mississippi River. And the drought then being broken by big hail events and extremely heavy rainfall. That's not the way you want to break a drought, although it's good to see that. Now, as you know, I like to cover the long-range stuff first. Excuse me. So before we go back into the details of the near term, let's talk La Nina. Now, our La Nina continues to show signs of vitality. I mean, it's really got some stronger trade winds in this area. We've seen cooling of the waters coming off of South America, and it's now extended its presence through April. And normally, just thinking, what typically happens this time of year is that La Ninas don't tend to strengthen in spring. That was why earlier in winter I called for the La Nina to fade, but it has not. A couple things of note. We do see kind of a mixed bag here in terms of ocean temperatures, so no major breakaway to very warm ocean temperatures just yet. We're going to keep an eye on these temperatures as we go into spring, but we still have a negative PDO signal, and that really increases the drought risk in the central part of the United States. Now, we're going to get brand new long-range forecast data that will happen at the end of this week. So I'll be putting that in next week's video. Doesn't come out until the evening of the 5th. So we're going to sit tight for that. But let's just keep all of this in mind as we move forward. Now, those ocean temperatures out there in what we call Niño region 3.4, this is just one spot in the Pacific we keep a close eye on. Okay, they have kind of reached a peak at the beginning of April and slowly decreased. So this is just one symptom that this La Nina continues to strengthen. Here's the other part of this. The Southern Oscillation Index. Now, that's a measure of the pressure difference between Tahiti and Darwin. So this is in the Central Pacific near the equator, and this is also near the equator, but in Australia. Remember, when these values are above 7, that tells us the atmosphere is kind of in base state La Nina, and it's currently up here at about 20. And there's pretty good evidence that it's going to continue that way. How do I know that? Well, just take a look. This is today all the way through the 17th. Well, we've got our strong trade winds. Okay, these strong trade winds are meeting some westerly component of the wind here. Now that means that right where they come together, that's where the air is going to rise, which is over MJO region 4 and 5. Now, when that Southern Oscillation Index value is positive, we know this about the month of May. We tend to struggle with moisture here, okay? But throughout the Midwest, through the northern plains, and in our neck of the woods, there's not a strong enough correlation to suggest that we wouldn't see anything but probably near normal precipitation, if anything, on the wetter side of things. But there's another component to this, and that is where the MJO is going to be, which is probably going to be somewhere near phase 4 or 5. Now, we can see that in the forecast models. They're trying to pull the MJO out of null space and sweep it back over here to phase 5 over the next 10 days. And let me show you what history would tell us. History would say that that helps ridging just off the coast. Now, if that's the case, what ends up happening is our temperatures are going to recover. They're going to go back over and stay, late spring, early summer type warmth if this manifests itself. But this also means systems will likely tend to just zip in between here like this. And I want to show you the implications of that. Okay, so watch this. This is a 5-day sliding window of temperature. So yes, we're starting off the week mild, but we're going to finish it, if you notice like that, cooler. That's our cool weekend. See it? Now, as we then get into that time period where the atmosphere is readjusting to the strengthening trade winds, it's very consistent to see more troughs digging into the west, and we're going to watch our temperatures rebound. See that? So as we go through May, we're going to start to see that taking shape. But I'll tell you something, the Pacific jet stream is unblocked, it's loaded, it's moving. Look at this, nothing's slowing that down. And the consequence of that is the pattern tends to be quite active. When you see zonal jet stream flow, that means west to east. No big ridges or troughs out here. That means that we're probably going to see a pretty active pattern. So if I just show you the next 10 days with that Pacific jet, remember it comes in like this into the Pacific Northwest. It then dives, ejecting into the plains. So we'll keep this area quite wet and very active. And these systems, as they move on across the country, tend to increase precipitation chances for us as well. So let's keep all that in the back of our minds as we now look at the new long-range outlook of mid-May through mid-June. Now, the models, despite the wetter conditions forecast for part of this area in the next 10 days, are seeing that La Nina as favoring drier conditions really inside of this area. Now, if I had to make some modifications to this, I think it's a bit too dry. I think the driest conditions are probably going to stay west of this line, and we're going to see more storms in this area. In fact, I think it's going to be a very active severe weather month for this whole region I'm kind of circling in here. But notice, though, the models are trying to keep some tighter windows. Windows are going to open across the eastern Corn Belt. Just think about that because we're delayed there. They're going to open, but they're not going to stay open for really long and extended periods of time. So when we look out here to that time period, which is going to get us, closer and closer to full-blown summer, we don't see strong signals either way for us just yet. But I wanted to bring you up to speed on some of these other locations. All right. Now, we got this idea, and again, we're going to get brand new updates next week, so I'll be sharing those with you in next week's video. But what about the next 7 days? Okay, so if we now just come back, it's a little different map, but it shows you very similar things what we've seen. Over the next 7 days, what is our precipitation pattern looking like compared to normal? Now, you need to look at this nationally. Notice, some places that have been in drought have more precip coming. Places that have been very slow to plant are going to continue to see delays. And we do see above average precipitation for us over North Carolina. A little drier to the west. So let's go take a look at what's going on here. I need to give you a national view of this to start off with. So these were our storms yesterday, last night, and they're now offshore. Okay, so let's just start this off Monday around 1 o'clock. Here's the next system coming through the plains, and it's going to be moving toward Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. And what's going to happen here is that by Tuesday night getting into Wednesday, we're going to see our chance of precipitation increasing at that time. It's going to be scattered. But the next system comes in on Wednesday back into the plains. And so as that one comes in, this is the one I'm going to be watching carefully. So by Friday, it's sitting right here over Missouri. See that? And as we go forward, that low currently in the models slows down, gets stacked up, and it starts to increase our weekend precipitation chances. So we have the chance on Tuesday into Wednesday, scattered, right? This would be what's coming in over the weekend. That's Friday evening, getting into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So did you notice that? We should expect a cool down, cloud cover, multiple chances of precip Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As we go into next week, that system tries to clear the coast. And the GFS clears it much faster. But what you just saw is a chance on Tuesday into Wednesday, and then the weekend is looking to be quite wet. So now let's zoom in and have a closer look. Now this is from last night, because this starts at 1 a.m., so it's the previous 6 hours. But you're going to notice our next chance, see it there, it comes in Tuesday night and Wednesday. It's not much. It's a lot of scattered precip, but it's the weekend we're holding out for. So here comes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you notice, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's our best chance at seeing possibly some stronger storms. It's also our best chance at seeing some heavier rainfall. Now you notice the model kind of carved out a spot down here where it was predicting drier. We're going to watch it all week to see if it evolves. But right now, you add up the next 7-8 days of total precip, we're going to have some places that do pick up 1 to 2.5 inches of rainfall, locally heavy amounts. Okay. Now from there, let's go out and show you where this pattern's going. Here is that trough exiting early next week, but look at this one. As that one comes sweeping through, it's going to basically send most of its momentum. It's going to curl around and eject those troughs here, and a large ridge builds in. Now, when that ridge builds in, it's going to signal a major warm-up. You saw that a few moments ago, right? In that day 5 through 10 time period. It's also going to signal the potential for strong severe storms right in between the two. But that system, if you notice here, going out to middle of May, that's going to give us a stretch at what could be some drier weather. If you look, here is the the week 2 precipitation. So as one system leaves, where that ridge comes in, we could get some, of course, warmer conditions and also some drier weather as we bring in very active weather into the midsection of the country. Some folks are going to love this that need it. Others who would like to plant a crop are not. That's going to be trouble. But the eastern Corn Belt might grab a window. That's what we got to watch carefully, because right now I think a lot of market movement is on planting. The speed of it, the conditions of it, so that's why I'm kind of addressing this whole country view while keeping a close eye here on the Carolinas in your video today. Temperature-wise, in gray is everywhere we expect to frost some point in the next 7 days. We've blasted past our risk of frost, so now I'm no longer concerned about it here, and I'm not concerned about it in the eastern Corn Belt as well. In fact, if we just look at the max temperatures, remember we start off this week warm, so look, 83 in Raleigh, 85 tomorrow on Tuesday. Remember, we got a chance of scattered showers and storms at that point, but the colder air comes in. There's Thursday's highs, getting into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the cool down is this weekend. See it there? But remember, once we get past that cool down, the warmth is behind it, and it pushes our direction as we work our way toward the middle of May. That's the bigger picture of what we're seeing here. Active, but moving forward, progressing this pattern with an open Pacific jet. That's the story I'm trying to carry. All right, let's do one spot internationally just to bring you up to speed on South America. We know that we've seen drought conditions expand on the safrinha crop, and it is likely going to limit the potential of that safrinha crop. May is typically a dry month. It's really the beginning of the dry season. So as we play through, let's just get out here maybe over the next 7 days. Limited scattered precipitation. That's what we're seeing over the next week. Some of the weekend model runs, though, see this as we go into the week 2 time period, are trying to return some rains right here to Mato Grosso, to Goiás, and Tocantins. And that's an important area where we grow safrinha crop. That could increase precip and help some of that crop out, but I don't think it'll negate the last 30 plus days of dryness we saw across a lot of that safrinha crop, which I think, again, is going to limit the potential. I'll keep an eye on this, though, and I'll keep reporting back to you until we finish this South American growing season. Okay, a lot to watch. Big video next week with new long-range stuff coming out, okay? Until then, I will hope you have a good week, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks.